So, about a day ago, I was sitting around thinking, what am I going to put in this part 2 of episode 3 Elitist Effect show? Like, there's nothing to talk about. But then the Velveteen Dream stuff came out. Allegedly, the allegations came out. And all of a sudden, there's just a plethora of stuff to talk about in this video. So, I'll get to that in due course. But first, I've just got to say just a number of things. Thank you guys for the support on the content recently, okay? It's been awesome to see the engagement and the interest in the videos. You guys have been knocking the videos out of the park as far as the support and the engagement. Views have been really good, engagement, likes and all that, so just keep doing what you're doing. Clearly you guys are enjoying it, so I'll keep providing the content, giving you the daily upload, daily video, maybe 2 videos in a day like I did yesterday, but we'll see. I'm also trying to get towards like 1 video per day, but it's like, really like pretty good quality content. So that's what we're looking at for the channel. As far as yesterday's video with the YouTuber shoutouts, 10 YouTubers who deserve more subscribers, the reaction for that was excellent. You guys, received that so well. Personally, most of you guys are like, oh, it's so wholesome, selfless of like me to do that. Personally, I just want to see those channels succeed. It's not a personal gain thing for me. I honestly just want to see those people do well, and it's a bunch of people. It's just the community in general, because there's no point me being all selfish with my channel as the community's like dying and no one's subscribing to wrestling channels. Okay, if you're getting traction going in the wrestling community, it's better for everyone, including this channel. So that's the whole situation with that. Anyway, so yeah, that's brilliant support yesterday. You guys received that really well. It's good to see a bunch of the channels I shouted out yesterday. They're gaining in subs. They're growing their platforms. That's awesome to see. As far as another matter I've got to address, this one I'm not overly hated about per se, but I'm kind of annoyed a little bit. Yesterday's SmackDown review was copyright claimed, not struck, thank God. It shouldn't have been struck at all, but it was copyright claimed by WWE. So my SmackDown review was claimed by the WWE. Why? God knows why. I mean, they're so inconsistent with the copyright claims. Okay, that was the 3rd video I've had copyright claimed by WWE. Actually, no, it's the 4th video now. So I had the Saudi Showdown review claimed. I had my March 16th Raw review claimed. That was the Stone Cold Day show. I had my Raw review, not this past week, but the week before. The one where Rollins curb stomped McIntyre. And then I have this SmackDown review. So that's now 4 videos WWE have copyright claimed me on, even though I have not included any audio from a WWE show. I haven't included any footage. It's just pictures of the show with me commentating over that. Okay? And it's so bizarre how they claim certain ones but not others. I do the same format every video, but WWE just randomly pick and choose, this video is getting claimed, that video is getting claimed. Even though there's no consistency. Based off how you claim my SmackDown review, wouldn't you think, WWE, that you claim all my uploads? Because they're all that same thing. I don't get it. I really don't. So they've now claimed 1 pay-per-view review, 2 Raws and 1 SmackDown. There's no consistency with their copyright claim system. Okay, WWE, get it together. Seriously speaking, what are you doing? So that's the whole copyright claim situation. Don't bother leaving comments down below, like leaving hate towards WWE. It's just kind of redundant and laughable. Seriously speaking, like, it's so random. So that's the copyright claim situation. As far as my channel, or one other thing before I get into the Velveteen Dream and all the news I got today, pretty much one thing I want to say, the goal for subscribers, I'm going to do this each week now, because given the growth we're getting, this, whether it accelerates the growth, I don't know, but this is just kind of, I'll say it now and we'll see where we are in a week. The goal for the Elitist Effect Part 4, Episode 2, no, stuff that, Episode 4, Part 2, there we go. The goal for this time next week, when I upload this version of the Elitist Effect, the news video, in 1 week's time, the goal for the channel is 300 subscribers. Okay, let's make that happen. So basically, at the moment, as of making this video, we're currently about 3-4 hours after SmackDown, 270 subscribers. The support on those videos has been really good. So we'll see in a week from now where we are. So 3 to 4 hours after SmackDown next week, we'll see how many subscribers we have. Hopefully we can get to 300. Let's spread the word of the channel, talk to your friends, get other people who might be interested in wrestling, get them to sub, get them to show some engagement in the channel. So that's the stuff I've got to address right off the bat. As for the agenda today, this Plenty to talk about, that's for sure. I mean, the main thing is the Velveteen Dream. This I'll get into in a matter of moments. The whole Velveteen Dream situation, yeah, it's... Regardless of if it's 100% accurate that it happened, regardless of that, it's really, really a bad look for Velveteen. Or Patrick Clark. Like, it's... I'll talk about that more. So, yeah, that whole Velveteen story, I'm going to cover it all. Also, I'll be talking about the team formerly known as the Revival. So, yeah, talking about them and how they mock their clown gimmick, the proposed clown gimmick. Now, this isn't fresh news. It's not hot off the press. Most of you have known for like a week and a half. But at the same time, they're mocking their gimmick. I don't want to talk about that clown gimmick. So, we'll talk about that. Next, I've got the SmackDown hacker, which people are saying that I'll get to it later. So there's that. Then I'll be talking about the other big story. Vince McMahon, his reasoning for why ratings have been down lately. Now, this was going to be the main story of this episode, part of the Elitist Effect. Even though this news is like 3 days old, a bunch of you already made videos on it, and it's not overly fresh. But just for my take on it, the whole thing with Vince McMahon blaming Brock not being there and a lack of new star power, even though it's his fault. That's laughable, so I'll address that situation. As for other things, NXT potentially introducing a second women's championship. Now, that is not confirmed by anyone or anything. That is coming from Dakota Kai, saying that, she'd be, fully understanding if they did that. So, Dakota Kai raises that there could be a second NXT women's championship. I'll talk about that. Also, news about the Boneyard match, and then my Raw and SmackDown previews for next week. So, plenty to talk about today. It's a jam-packed, loaded episode. You guys got lots to look forward to, so, stay locked and loaded with this Elitist Effect video. So, yeah, we'll get underway with the Velveteen Dream. This whole thing... Jesus. Okay, I guess I'll begin with the story, because I guess that's the best thing to begin with. Now, actually, no, I'll just begin by talking about it. Pretty much, this whole Velveteen Dream thing... Regardless of whether it happened 100% distinctively and there's proof or not, regardless, it's a terrible look for WWE. It's a terrible look for the Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark. It's a terrible look for the company as a whole, because you never want stuff and allegations like this to emerge. You really don't. It doesn't benefit anyone inside the WWE, especially Velveteen. So, yeah, this whole thing... Yeah, it's really not good. Basically, the story itself, a user on Reddit claims that Velveteen Dream sent explicit messages to them. He apparently posted that his quote-unquote DMs were open on his Instagram stories. Then, he started sending nude photographs to users. You can read the Reddit post below. It has since been deleted, but the post claims that some girls Velveteen Dream sent photos to were underage. Oh, this is where it gets... Yeah, okay. Calls were allegedly made as well, where she was able to ID his voice, so identify his voice. Yeah, there has been audio. I'm not going to play the audio because I'm just not gonna. So pretty much the audio was just him asking about the school or something. It was not the best look for Velveteen if it's fully confirmed that was his voice in that situation. But anyway, so the quote says, he posted on his Instagram story that his DMs were open, and now he's generally sending my friends and I messages of sexual nature. I'd like to think it's a hacker, but I don't know. How do I begin to approach this? How do I contact WWE? I have proof. This is what happened with Velveteen Dream. Edit. He blocked me on Instagram after I wouldn't send him an uncensored photograph back. Edit. I'm really worried about all this. Does anyone have legal advice or whatnot? I'm thinking of deleting this all and getting it to the police instead. Edit. I'm 17 and my friends are 15 and 16. Yeah, oh, Jesus. This story, it's really like... edit, the evidence that is... Sorry, I'll read that again because I'm illiterate. Edit, the evidence that it is him is as follows. His phone number is Washington area code. His voice in the calls was accurate. It was off his verified Instagram account, and the picture he sent is believable. And then it hasn't been confirmed whether Velveteen Dream himself sent the pictures or his account was hacked. He still has to make a comment on the situation. So that was before Velveteen Dream made his public comment about the situation, which pretty much the Velveteen Dream himself went on Twitter and said, "Be assured I did not communicate inappropriately with anyone. A private photo of mine was shared without my consent or knowledge. I'm working with a third party to look into this matter." So that's what Velveteen Dream posted on his Twitter to try and clear this up, which... Okay, so that's the story as of right now. Now, I'm posting this Elitist Effect in literally probably 15 hours after I record this, so maybe proof comes out and Velveteen's found guilty of these allegations. Obviously, Velveteen Dream denies them because, well, what else is he going to do? You think Velveteen Dream, with his status inside the company and of someone of his public nature, you think Velveteen Dream is going to publicly come out on Twitter and say, yes, I sent these naked photographs to minors. Yeah, you think Velveteen Dream's going to say that? Of course, Velveteen Dream's not going to say that. So Velveteen Dream, understandably, made the denial comment and denial tweet. So that's what we've got so far. And as I've said, I'm not going to pick sides because that's not the right thing to do. Okay, a situation like this that's as serious as this, with a potential wrestler, a grown man wrestler sending these photographs to minors, it's a very just disturbing situation. It's something that happened with James Ellsworth. Remember that? These are kind of allegations. They plagued Enzo Amore as well, which they're allegations that ruin careers. So I'm not going to jump on a bandwagon and say that one person's right, one person's wrong. Okay, as of right now, the fact of the matter is we don't have concrete, distinctive proof one way or the other to sway how people see this. With the evidence, quote unquote, from the Reddit post, it wasn't like, okay, that is Velveteen Dream, because how do we know it wasn't a hacker? We don't. Okay, at the end of the day, this is the Velveteen Dream. The proposition that someone could have easily hacked his account, and it's Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark. You see his personality, you see his persona. To think that, yes, he does have nude photographs on his phone. Of course he does, because why wouldn't he? Don't quote me on that. But yeah, pretty much Velveteen Dream, he has these photographs. Of course, hackers being hackers, that gets shared. And of course, another thing, this gets brought up now. Given Velveteen Dream, he's coming up to being NXT champion, okay? I would have thought he was going to win the NXT championship at TakeOver Tampa. Obviously, TakeOver Tampa postponed due to the pandemic, so you'd think Adam Cole is losing the championship very soon. He's held the belt for 11 months now. Adam Cole's had his 5,000 cups of coffee with the title. Okay, Adam Cole has had that title for too long. Velveteen Dream, he's going to come up upon his time period for winning the title. So to think that this comes out now, I mean, if Velveteen did do this, now would be a terrible time to have done this. But at the same time, it just doesn't make sense. I can completely see if he was hacked and these pictures were sent to the minors. I can understand that happening. But at the same time, we don't know for sure, so I can't concretely say. It's a very grey, messy kind of situation. It's a situation you only want to kind of dip your toes in the water of. You don't want to jump in and make a full comment about. Given, as I've said, the nature of the allegations, okay, very, very serious. It's not stuff you joke around about, outside of the fact that if Velveteen Dream is confirmed to have done this, and it was him sending these photographs to minors, then it well and truly is dream over. I'm sorry. But yeah, so this Velveteen Dream situation, his career in WWE, as far as winning the NXT Championship, that's off the table now. These allegations alone, true or not, he's not winning the championship, okay? This isn't Impact Wrestling with the whole Tessa Blanchard situation. Now, remember back to January, Tessa Blanchard came out and made the alleged racist comments, which Tessa handled terribly, okay? Saying a bunch of stuff that, it didn't happen. It didn't happen, as wrestler after wrestler after wrestler came out and said, look, I've seen you do X, I've seen you do Y, I've seen you do Z, okay? That Tessa situation, these career-harming, very, very derogatory, defamatory kind of allegations, bombarding in on a performer when they're about to potentially win their promotion's biggest prize. So we saw this with Tessa Blanchard. Obviously, the racism stuff, it's a different kettle of fish to this whole situation. The lewd photographs and minors, it's very, not an area you want to go down. It's not something that's accepted at all, and justifiably so. So, the Velveteen Dream situation, personally, I'm hoping that this is just someone who either, someone from Reddit who's looking for clout, or someone who's hacked Velveteen's phone, and that's what's happened. That's what I'm praying for, because the last thing you want to see for Velveteen is just, his career completely derailed. But then again, if he has done this, his career deserves to be, because the action itself is disgusting. So it's a very grey, very murky kind of situation. Velveteen Dream, obviously, it's dream over if this actually happened. It was him who sent the photographs. But if that being said, if it was just someone fabricating this because a hacker hacked Velveteen's account, then, well, I don't know. So that's the Velveteen Dream story. But there's more to come out on that. I'll be sure to mention it during my videos throughout next week. It's a very kind of, watch this space type of situation. We don't know for sure, but I mean, that being said, if this was like actually what happened and Velveteen did do this, oh boy, that would be a very, very dark day for the company. The dark day for pro wrestling. If one of the main stars of NXT is revealed and found evidence behind doing the photograph sending. So that's my address at that situation. It's very murky, very dark, very kind of stuff you don't want to really talk about. So that's what we're beginning this episode of the Elitist Effect by talking about for episode 3 part 2. Next up, we'll be going into something that's far more lighthearted than this whole Velveteen Dream situation, because the Velveteen Dream thing's not exactly the best. So next up, I'll be talking about the Revival, or as they're calling themselves now, the Revolt, cashing in on their ridiculous WWE gimmick idea. Now, this I didn't report upon, I didn't talk about last week, and a bunch of you guys already know this, so I'm hardly breaking news to you, but the whole thing with the Revolt, the Revival, they were scheduled to be wearing literally clown attire and have like a new clown gimmick on WWE TV. Okay, this was clearly Vince McMahon trying to shame the Revival, make a mockery of them, just diminish their credibility on the way out the door before they go off to AEW. That's what Vince McMahon was trying to do when he implemented this, okay? Now, this whole thing, thank God it didn't happen. If we did see Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson wearing these ridiculous outfits, okay, I'm going to try and put them on screen now. I don't know if they are or not, but I'll try and get them on screen. Literally, they're just ridiculous. They really are. These guys will look like absolute redneck clown idiots, okay? They would have looked as dumb as the Viking Raiders did when they were doing karaoke in the car on Monday Night Raw. It would have been that bad. If not, actually, it would have been way worse, to be honest. I mean, actually, both of them are really bad. But yeah, this whole thing with the gimmick idea, it's terrible. The story itself comes from Ringside News. It says, WWE pitched an idea for the Revival that was goofy, to say the least. Sketches from their proposed comedy gimmick recently leaked online, and everyone had a field day. The Revival are known as the Revolt, or now known as the Revolt. They are also cashing in on that awful gimmick that Vince McMahon personally handed to them. It didn't take long for the top guys to figure out how to make the most of what they had to go through in WWE. Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, which, side rant, those names suck. Seriously speaking, literally, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. Are you kidding me? Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. Those names are dreadful, okay? They couldn't have thought of anything better. Because the thing with wrestling names, you either want something that stands out and is good. It stands out because it's bad, okay? I mean, these names aren't as boring as Scott Dawson, Dash Wilder, but really, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, are you kidding? Like, for real? So, anyway, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, there we go, uploaded a new t-shirt on their Pro Wrestling Tee Shop featuring the designs that were featured all over the internet. The shirts also say, new name, same game. This was a very clever idea for them to use these leaked photos, to sell some merchandise. So, yeah, you can now check these Revolt t-shirts at Pro Wrestling Tees. The shirts themselves, they're pretty creative. I mean, nice and colourful. You've got a picture of Harwood and Wheeler, Dawson and Wilder, whatever you want to call them. You got them literally in their clown gear, and it says new name, same game, FTR, Free the Revival, and then you've got literally just a hokey blue background. So the shirts themselves, they look fine. I'm sure they'll generate some revenue for the Revival guys. I'm gonna keep calling them the Revival out of instinct, but yeah, we know they're now called the Revolt. They'll generate some revenue for the guys from the Revolt. These new shirts, there's something cool, something funny. Personally, will the Elitists be buying one? No. I'm not going to be seen dead wearing this, because literally, oh my god, Dash Wilder looks like God, he's literally got, I don't even know how to describe this. It's like a chain link necklace with, it literally looks like he's wearing a ring. But it's just, it looks ridiculous. It looks absolutely ridiculous. The fact that Vince McMahon was going to give these guys these gimmicks shows you how little he cares about the tag team division. Shows you how little he cares about these two. To Vince, these two guys, from the day they came into the company, these are just two nobodies. Okay, we know now that Vince McMahon in tag team wrestling looks for literally two singles guys to be thrown together and be a tag team. Okay, that's what Vince McMahon looks for in tag team wrestling. You've seen that in the past year. I look at Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman winning the Raw Tag Team Championships. These makeshift tag teams winning the Raw Tag titles because Vince McMahon couldn't give a damn about tag team wrestling. You see that with these guys. You see that with this merchandise. Okay, it's plain to see. The Revival, Scott Dawson, Dash Wilder, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler. God, those names are bad. You see it with those guys. Okay, they were never treated with the respect they deserve in the WWE. I'm sure that there are plenty of people online. What do you mean? They were never treated with respect, man. They were 4-time tag team champions. Or maybe 3, or maybe 5. I don't know. They held a few tag belts. But at the end of the day, they were complete afterthoughts. They just had the titles. Like, literally, they'd hold the titles and then just lose them back to the New Day. That's literally what the tag team division was. So, yeah, this new gear, it's good that, Wheeler and Harwood can profit off the WWE for this. They can get themselves some sales, because I've no doubt people will go out and buy these shirts just to mock the WWE and, put money in the pockets of Wilder and Dawson or Harwood and Wheeler. So that's the whole situation with the Revival and them cashing in on the ridiculous WWE clown gimmick. And that's also my take on the clown gimmick. I think the whole thing's just stupid. Vince McMahon is just an A-grade clown. So, I mean, that's that whole situation with Vinnie Mac and everything that's going on with the Revival, the Revolt, whatever you want to call them now. So, that's that. From here we go to something which, I mean, yeah, this is about the hacker, the SmackDown mystery man. So, this whole thing, this is coming from Wrestling Inc. and Mark Middleton. The story reads, possible spoiler on the Truth Will Be Heard mystery man storyline on WWE SmackDown. So, that's what the headline is. So, basically, the story reads, it looks like there could be multiple people revealed as the ones behind the recent mystery hacker storyline on WWE SmackDown. It's been reported how speculation has Mustafa Ali being the mystery hooded figure that's been airing the Truth Will Be Heard videos on the Blue brand as of late. So, obviously, Mustafa Ali is who everyone assumes it is. That's who I've gone on record in videos saying I assume it's Mustafa Ali, because who else would it be? And if it's not Mustafa Ali, like, where is Mustafa Ali? Bruce? Clown. So, pretty much, the Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that there's also been some talk that it may end up being both, I repeat, both Ali and a repackaged Chad Gable. Okay, Gable, as we know, was last seen doing his Shorty G gimmick, obviously wearing the neon green basketball shorts, you know what I mean. So we had the Shorty G gimmick, that's what Gable was last doing, so we could be seeing both Ali and Gable doing these Truth Will Be Heard vignettes. So there's still no word yet on what WWE has planned for the mystery storyline, but after exposing how Dolph Ziggler and Sonya Deville were conspiring against Otis and Mandy Rose, the mystery man then issued a warning to WWE tag teams last week. As noted earlier this week, WWE created a Twitter account for the mystery man at The Message WWE. They may have used an old Twitter account created in October 2010 that was previously used for running the Stand Up for WWE PR campaign when Linda was running for US Senate. So the story goes on. There's a Twitter account, some released videos during the week, really try and build up this mystery hacker thing. Personally, what are my thoughts on this? Well, before I get into my actual thoughts, I'll read something that came across my Twitter, which if you follow my Twitter account, which I'll plug now, my Twitter and my Instagram, you can go on my YouTube homepage. The links are at the very top of the page, they're on the banner. Okay, follow my Twitter, follow my Instagram. Some good content coming up on there, so make sure you follow those. Pretty much, one guy I stumbled across tweeted, now this is just a conspiracy theory, and if this is the case, I'll be incredibly angry, but literally he tweets, OMG, this could be CM Punk, referring to a hacker, OMG, this could be CM Punk, look at the circle in the CM Punk logo. So literally, the CM Punk logo of his fist holding a lightning bolt and there's a circle around it. We pretty much know the Punk logo. Pretty much, look at the circle in the CM Punk logo and look at the hacker in the picture. It's the same circle. And now, what does this mean? Do you think CM Punk is coming back? No. CM Punk isn't coming back as the mystery hacker on SmackDown. Okay, what a stupid idea. CM Punk is the mystery hacker on SmackDown. You think they're going to bring back Phil Brooks as the mystery hacker? If you bring Phil Brooks back, well, knowing WWE, they'd do have Michael Cole ruin it. It wouldn't be a shock return. But do you think CM Punk, in the middle of a pandemic, is going to make his triumphant return to pro wrestling, and not at AEW Double or Nothing, not at All Out, not at WrestleMania, not at the Royal Rumble? No, Punk's going to make his return as the mystery hacker, because Mustafa Ali, or whoever the hacker is, their circle, it's the same shape as Punk's circle in his lightning bolt. What a reach that was. So I know that isn't even official news, but I've got to just rant on that. The stupidity of some people on social media. Do you think CM Punk's coming back, man? Because the circle is the same in Ali, or whoever the hacker is the same in their thing as the CM Punk's circle in his logo. No. So pretty much this whole thing that the hacker could be both Shorty G and Mustafa Ali, that'd be interesting, because they went after tag teams, and I think that would make sense, okay? And I think this whole thing would actually make sense to the hackers, because Ali, Gable, they've been written off TV. They can talk about how, they're fed up with everything that's going on SmackDown. The truth will be heard. It makes sense for it to be Gable and Ali. Personally, I want it to be Gable and Ali. I think those two guys would work really well in that role. So hopefully it is Gable and Ali. One other person I've read the hacker could be is Xavier Woods. Now, this one, it makes some sense. Pretty much Kofi and Big E, as we know, they're now the 8-time SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Unfortunately, to some extent. But yeah, they're the 8-time Tag Team Champions. Xavier Woods is currently on the sidelines. Now, I'm not going to report on the story about how Xavier Woods kind of lashed out at the fan for calling him the third wheel of the New Day. I'm not really going to talk about that. That doesn't really deserve or warrant a discussion. But yeah, Xavier Woods, him being out with the Achilles injury for as long as he is, it gives him time to be away from the New Day so that he could come back in this kind of capacity. And he would know a lot about the tag team division, and he could really reveal some truth, because he's been a tag team guy for 6 years. So if it is Xavier Woods, that would make sense. But I feel like the Mustafa Ali and Chad Gable thing makes much more sense, and it would work. The tag teams, those guys are a tag team. They've been shunned, and now they can tell the truth. So that's the whole thing with the Elitist Effect. Elitist Effect. What am I on about? That's the whole thing with the hacker storyline on this Elitist Effect episode. So that's that story there. Now, we're about to move on to a story which is the second biggest of this episode, part 2. This story is something that I've got to have just a big rant about. So without further ado, this Vince McMahon thing. Holy hell. Vince McMahon says WWE Raw ratings are down due to new talent, but will bounce back. So this story, it's coming from Wrestling Inc., so take it with a grain of salt, as always. I mean, it's Wrestling Inc., so what do you expect? But anyway, this story, I'll just read it now. So, WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon was asked about the recent decline in Raw and SmackDown ratings during Thursday's Q1 2020 investors call. Now, right away, I've got to address something before I even really get into this. The investors, the stockholders, shareholders, the people who hold stock in WWE are not nearly invested enough in the company, emotionally. They're purely just businessmen who go, WWE is a publicly traded company, I'll invest my money. They do research in the stock market and look at trends with that, but there's nowhere near enough interest in the actual product and investment in the product from these guys who actually invest, because if they actually were following the product, they would be able to grill Vince McMahon. So many things Vince McMahon does, they'd be able to grill if they actually watched the weekly shows and gave a damn. But anyway, to put that to the side, so the story goes on. Vince talked about how the product is different while filming during the pandemic with no audience, and pointed to how there hasn't been much of a change with the blue brand regarding the red brand ratings. Sorry, that made no sense. There hasn't been much of a change with the blue brands of SmackDown ratings. Regarding the red brand ratings, though, Vince talked about how they've brought up new talents and how it takes time to get those talents over. And investors said it's surprising that the ratings appeared soft as of late, with WWE being just about the only live sports content on TV due to the pandemic, and asked if Vince had any idea why this is. Now, that's a very valid question from the investor, because WWE really is the only live sports thing on, but yet their ratings are worse than ever. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you know I've explained this. WWE without crowds, it's horrible to watch. And given that the product sucks as it is with no audience, it's insufferable and it's hard to sit through. So that's why no one's watching. And if anything, droves are being turned away. So anyway, Vince says, in terms of the why, it goes back to the product itself. And we are the only, you're right, sports entertainment at the moment. But again, it's a different feel completely than in front of a live audience. We were the first sports to have interaction with live audiences many, many years ago. It was yay, boo. And that's the first interaction. And we don't have that now, Vince said. But we are doing very well, I think. Excuse me, Vince? But we're doing really well. Ha ha, clown. Literally, he says, beyond anyone's expectations, actually, by doing the show without an audience, and everything we do is about the audience and how they react, and the way you read them, and the fun and what have you that they all have by coming to a WWE event. So that's really, I think, why, and we need to be able to figure out ways, which we are. This is absolute drivel from Vince. This is nonsense. But we're doing really well, I think. I'm repeating this again, but I need to repeat this just to kind of comprehend it myself. This is ridiculous. So, quote unquote again, but we're doing really well, I think, beyond anyone's expectations, actually, by doing the show without an audience. Beyond anyone's expectations? It's 15 times worse than I could ever expect. What do you mean, Vince? Beyond anyone's expectations? Maybe that's what Vince means. It's worse than anyone thinks. What a ridiculous comment to make. Just, this is the man who's at the face of this company. Okay, so he continued and talked about the closed-set environment of the Performance Center. He says, but nonetheless, there are advantages, and we can go outside in the environment too. So we don't just stay there for 2 or 3 matches. You need some relief there in one form or the other, and we're figuring that out as well. A lot of things continue to figure themselves out in this sort of environment. What can you do, and what resonates, and things of that nature. So it's a brand. It's new. He just goes on and on. It's a bunch of this just propaganda, this pro-WWE just drivel. And this is the stuff which the corporate suits and ties believe. They believe this Vince drivel, okay? He kept going. He says, Vince continued with his answer and said, Raw is not only suffering, isn't suffering not necessarily because of the new environment, but because of the new talent and the process of getting them over. Oh, this guy, dude. He also mentioned Brock Lesnar being away right now and said they do have a new WWE champion, but he did not name Drew McIntyre. Yep, shows how much faith he has in Drew. Vince also says he believes the Raw ratings will bounce back considerably. Will they now, Vince? I'd like you to tell me when. I'd like you to tell me by how much. Vince also, I'm going to repeat this line again. I know you just heard it, but I need to say this again verbatim. Vince also believes the Raw ratings will bounce back considerably. Okay, let me address this now. Monday Night Raw ratings from last week to this week dropped 70,000 viewers, okay? This is in April of 2020 during the pandemic situation. Let's say there are no crowds allowed back till July. Now, I'm not going to say the ratings can go down 70,000 viewers each time. That's not going to happen, okay? There's a core base of around 1.6 or 1.4 to 1.6 million viewers, okay? This is the audience who watches AEW and NXT on Wednesday nights. The number you're getting for AEW and NXT combined, that's that amount of hardcores. And additionally, on top of that, you get a bunch of kids watching Raw and like casuals. So, that being said, that's about 1.6, 1.7 million people. So, I mean, how many of those get lost during the pandemic situation because of no crowds? Okay, so you could be at 1.4, 1.5 million viewers watching Raw come June, come July, if not lower. I'm being generous when I say 1.4, 1.5. You could easily be at 1 million, not 1 million, but you could easily be low ones, like getting TNA ratings from 2011. But Vince McMahon says he believes Raw ratings will bounce back considerably. Okay, here's the thing. Vince, when your ratings, as of July or August, whenever the crowd's back, maybe even later in the year, but I doubt it. When Vince McMahon has these ratings of 1.4, 1.5 million, and the ratings go back up to 1.9, like million viewers, that's not a win. Okay, 1.9 million viewers is laughable for Monday Night Raw. But Vince McMahon, in his quarter 4 conference call or his quarter 3 call or whatever, I'm going to say this now, when the ratings go up because crowds come back, but they only go up to like 1.9 or 2 million viewers, Vince will tout this as, oh look, our viewership's going up. This is the issue with the WWE. This is these lies they tell, that like Vince tells, and it trickles down the company. And these shills and these sheep believe it. Okay, when the ratings are at 1.4, 1.5 million, and they're getting TNA ratings from 2011, and then they go back up to 1.9, 2 million, back when crowds come back, okay, literally, that's nothing to be proud of. Your audience went back to the abysmal number it was when there was some crowds in, like, March. If not, like, you've lost 200 to 300,000 viewers of pro wrestling, okay? That's the issue with this time period at the moment. People who could watch pro wrestling are so disenfranchised with it because there's no crowds, they'll just stop watching altogether. And that's what we've seen. That's what's happened, okay? People are so disenfranchised with WWE at the moment that this is what we've gotten. We've gotten people just flat out tuning out altogether, okay? So this whole thing, it's just ridiculous. Vince, I'll finish off with a few more Vince quotes because why not? He says, "So there's no audience and it's a different show. We're a completely different show," Vince said. And I think we're going to get there. While we may not be able to take this negative already, turn it into somewhat of a positive, as far as ratings and what have you are concerned, SmackDown has virtually been no change, very little. Raw has suffered, but not necessarily because of the environment. It's suffered because we bring a lot of new talent and to Raw. We bring in a lot of new talent and to Raw, and it takes a while to get these talents over. Okay, Vince, explain to me this. How come when you say get these new talents over, how come when Rhea Ripley comes up to the main roster, so to speak, takes on Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, how come Charlotte Flair's winning? Or let's use Shayna Baszler. How come Shayna Baszler comes up to Raw, takes out the whole women's division for like a month, 2 months, destroys the whole women's division, then takes on Becky Lynch and loses in 8 minutes at WrestleMania? How's that building new talent? Okay, you talk about in these quotes how new talent is taking a while to get new talent over. You wonder why, Vinny. Okay, you wonder why when you're having these new talents, quote unquote, losing to people who don't need to be winning. Okay, Vince, everyone who watches your show, everyone who's left knows that Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Brock Lesnar are your fave five. Or as Booker T would say, fave five! Like, everyone knows that those are your favorite 5 talents, your favorite 5 performers, and everyone else isn't worth anything. We know you think that, but having Shayna Baszler lose to Becky Lynch in 8 minutes, and that doesn't put her over at all. That makes her look worse. Now whenever Shayna Baszler, quote-unquote, breaks someone's arm on Raw, I don't care. I don't take it seriously. So you've ruined a making of a new talent. Now no casual viewer is looking at Shayna Baszler and thinking, oh, well, she's only lost to Becky in 8 minutes. Why should I care about her? It's the same thing with The Fiend. And I still get into arguments with cretins on social media these days about The Fiend and Goldberg situation. People saying that, oh, well, but it's just Goldberg. It doesn't matter. The Fiend won at WrestleMania. The Fiend's dominant. It hasn't hurt The Fiend. Okay? Can you seriously tell me, without trolling, that when The Fiend comes out now, you're anywhere near as intimidated, interested, intrigued as before the Goldberg thing? Okay, the Goldberg thing killed The Fiend in Saudi Arabia. The Fiend had Cena, literally, John Cena sacrifices WrestleMania 36 match altogether just to try and rebuild Bray Wyatt because Bill Goldberg had to look good for the 7-year-olds who never saw him in WCW. Okay, these same 7-year-olds who were born in the year CM Punk cut the pipe bomb, okay, that makes no sense. The same kids who are now turning 9, or like who, were born when Punk cut the pipe bomb, the same kids who grew up in this PG era, the same kids who've been watching for 2 years who don't even know you, just, that whole thing killed Bray Wyatt. But I still have people who argue with me saying that, oh well, but it didn't bury The Fiend. When this is the whole problem. This is why new talents can't get over. And this is why when Vince shills this out to the investors and the shareholders and all these people on these conference calls, they should stand up and say, excuse me, Vince, then why did the Goldberg squash Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, one of your hottest new talents, who could be a potential big face of this company? Why did Goldberg squash him in 3 minutes with 4 spears and a botched jackhammer? What was that about? But no one says that. None of these shareholders say that because they're just so invested in the product. None of them bring up the fact that Shayna Baszler dominates the whole women's division on Raw, makes them all look like worthless losers, and then she loses to Becky Lynch in 8 minutes. So now Becky Lynch has no one to face, Shayna Baszler looks irrelevant, and the division's dead. Brilliant. And literally, the same thing as Charlotte Flair, beating everyone, not putting anyone over. It's just a disaster. It really is. So that's why you can't make new talents. It's just ignorance from Vince McMahon. And finally, he finishes off this pure ignorance by saying, We no longer have Brock Lesnar, obviously, but we have a new champion and a lot of new performers coming in. So it takes a while. So that's the reason and how you use those performers in this story or that story or what have you. So with the new talent, it's just going to take a little while. I'm convinced though, the Raw's rating is going to bounce back considerably. So I'm going to analyze this for a second. So with the new talent, it's going to take a while. I'm convinced though. And he furthermore says, so it takes a while with the new talent. Okay, Vince, we'll look at some new talent. Austin Theory, Angel Garza, Andrade, they're stable. Now, most people, or I've seen some people comment that they remind people of Los Ingobernables de Japón in New Japan Pro Wrestling. That couldn't be further from the truth, because the fact of the matter is, in WWE, them as a stable, Austin Theory's won one match. He beat, I forget who, he beat some jobber like 2 weeks ago. So Theory's won one singles match, otherwise he's lost every match he's been in. And then Angel Garza loses most matches. Andrade gets beaten up most matches. The three of them collectively couldn't take down Drew McIntyre. We had the opening segment on Raw where McIntyre takes out Andrade. Then he's standing in the ring. Zelina Vega saying, "Get him, it's 2-on-1. Garza and Theory stand there pissing themselves. And then in the main event, McIntyre hits a Roman Reigns dive onto all three of them, looks at Zelina Vega and says, I can do it all. And then Zelina Vega's looking at her three clients and thinking, oh my god, they're worthless. Okay. That stuff like that with those three guys in this new stable is why you can't make talents. It's laughable. It's ridiculous. So that's the whole Vince McMahon situation. It really is just ridiculous. Okay, seriously speaking, that Vince thing is ridiculous. So that's that. Next, I'll move on to this NXT introducing a second women's championship thing. Now, as I mentioned before, this one, it's only like a theory and a possibility. This one, once again, from Wrestling Inc. Basically, Dakota Kai recently spoke on a Sports Illustrated interview to promote NXT, and she raised the possibility of there potentially being a second NXT Women's Championship. Now, she says, quote, having another title with the women's division would be so feasible for us, she said. There are so many talented women. There are many storylines outside of the title picture. And with another title, those will be fighting for something. Last summer at TakeOver Toronto, Io Shirai and Candice LeRae had a match on the card. And this year at TakeOver in Portland, Tegan and I had a match. So another title would be used well. There are so many talented women, so a secondary title isn't a crazy idea. Personally, if anyone but Charlotte Flair was the regular NXT Women's Champion, I'd flat out reject this and say it was a terrible idea. But realistically, the NXT Women's Championship at the moment is going to be held by Charlotte Flair for months. Okay, Charlotte's going to beat Mia Yim on NXT. Charlotte is going to win every match she has with that belt. Straight up, plain and simple. Charlotte Flair's not losing that title for a long time. People are saying that, Io Shirai is going to beat Charlotte Flair. You people can't be saved. Pretty much, Charlotte Flair is going to win just NXT match after NXT match. Then they'll probably have Rhea Ripley win it back in 6 months. And they'll try and make it seem like Rhea Ripley conquers Charlotte. And by then, no one will care. So that's Charlotte and holding the NXT Women's Championship. A secondary Women's Championship in NXT, I guess it could be useful. I guess it could be, it's NXT, so they're not going to botch the delivery of a second women's title as badly as a Raw or a SmackDown would. Because if this was Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown or the main roster, they make an absolute mess of the secondary women's title. I mean, for Christ's sake, just look at, the Women's Tag Team Championships. How's that for an example? The Women's Tag Team Championships have been laughable, irrelevant, and embarrassing. So, you take that, and then you compare that to, what NXT would do, where they'd use the title well, it would feel important, cool, meaningful. So, realistically, that's the situation with the NXT Women's Championship. The secondary title potentially coming in. Personally, I'd like to see it, I guess. Well, while Charlotte Flair's a champion, you might as well get a second title. So, that's that story. Next up, this one's very quick. It really is. This one about the Boneyard Match. Now, I mentioned this at the start of the video, and you guys might have thought, well, what are you going to talk about the Boneyard Match? Well, I thought everything was done and dusted with that. Well, ironically enough, no, because WWE.com, WWE Shop, they're selling, they're selling dirt from the Boneyard Match in their, memorabilia piece for WrestleMania 36 and the Boneyard Match. So basically, most of you guys know, WWE.com, they sell these, nice looking plaque things, plaque, whatever you want to say it. They sell these things which commemorate matches, moments, all that. A bunch of people collect these things. They're pretty sick for the most part. This one is going to contain the following. So it's 15 inches by 17 inches. It has the official WrestleMania product, individually numbered, limited edition of 536. Contains dirt from the first ever Boneyard Match at WrestleMania 36. Yeah. So I'm looking at a picture of it now. The thing itself looks pretty, kind of ridiculous. Usually, these things, they put a picture on a bit of the ring mat, the canvas they performed on, which is always pretty cool. In this case, they're using dirt. This is very random. Just wanted to throw this in here because I thought it's kind of worth noting. Something just to mention. So, that's what we have there. And lastly, just a really quick Raw and SmackDown preview for this coming week. So, this is the second final week before Money in the Bank. It's not even the go-home week. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so this week, Monday Night Raw will be allegedly taping the show for the go-home show. So that go-home show is going to draw abysmal ratings. That's my prediction now. The Raw go-home show for May 4, 2020 to Money in the Bank is going to draw awful ratings. It really is. So, yeah, pretty much the Raw show on Monday for April 27th, 2020, that show will feature Seth Rollins and WWE Champion Drew McIntyre signing the contract for their Money in the Bank match. So that's what we're going to see there. That's the only thing they've confirmed for Monday Night Raw, I believe. If they've confirmed something for Raw, I don't even care, because it's Monday Night Raw. I can't wait to rip this show apart and give you guys some entertainment value. So Rollins and McIntyre, they're going to do their contract signing. Easily the most intriguing part of Raw. Rollins, McIntyre, everything else on Raw is worthless and irrelevant. So that's what to expect on Monday Night Raw. Friday Night SmackDown, we're seeing the following. Baron Corbin, or King Corbin, versus Daniel Bryan, singles match. Both guys are Money in the Bank, so they're going one-on-one. No one cares. We're seeing a men's Money in the Bank qualifier, Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. Who do I think should win that match? Otis should win the match. But will he? I don't know. I think that's one of those matches, because Mandy Rose is facing Carmella in a women's Money in the Bank qualifier. Personally, I think what'll happen is, I think Otis and Mandy are going to be screwed out of both those matches. That's what I see happening. I see Ziggler or DeVille coming out during Mandy Rose versus Carmella, costing Mandy Rose that match, so Carmella gets into Money in the Bank. Therefore, this pains me to say, therefore, the women's Money in the Bank field would be Nia Jax. It would be who? It's Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Shayna Baszler. Who else is even in there? I don't even care. The point is Nia Jax, as well as Carmella and Dana Brooke in a women's Money in the Bank match. That is laughable. So that's the potential Money in the Bank field. And then I think if Otis doesn't win, it'll be because of a screw job. It'll be because Sonya Deville came out or something. I don't know. I don't see both Otis and Rose getting into Money in the Bank matches. One of them's getting screwed over, if not both. So those are my predictions, my mini preview for Raw and SmackDown for this coming week. So that's been the Elitist Effect, Episode 3, Part 2. Hope you guys have enjoyed the podcast. If you have, be sure to like, comment, and sub. Plenty to talk about today. If you made it to the end, big shout out to you. Okay, that Vince McMahon story just pisses me off to no end. And yeah, see you guys.